Hello, everybody in Facebook land and our CTV family. Tonight, we have a very, very special show. We have a takeover with the best of the best.
Best of the best.
The best of the best. We cannot find anybody better who is more beloved than you.
Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you.
Seriously, we all love you for decades, not only because of your broad body of work and your strong commitment to the industry and to supporting, everything, but for the person that you are. You have always been one of the nicest guys from when you were a teenager all the way up to now. I have never, ever heard someone say anything that wasn't just filled with true esteem and glory about you.
I'm blushing like crazy. Forget about it. That's beautiful.
Stop it. But you worked hard.
Thank you.
You really worked hard at always being a nice guy and doing the right thing. And for maybe the one person in another country who may not know and who might watch the show, this is JOE CAUSI. He is Brooklyn's own. He is everybody's own. He is probably somebody that if you never got to meet him, shame on you. You got to go to one of his events, one of his things, and you got to go spend some time with him because
you're always somewhere.
You are.
Always somewhere.
And but you know what? What's really nice is when you're at those events, I see you engaging with all of the people. You're not that person who steps and hides behind and you don't want to be around people. You are surrounded by fans and friends and everybody all night long, and you talk to them all night long.
I mean, I've been kissing babies and shaking hands my whole life.
You didn't have to run for office.
I didn't have to run. I'm going to run for borough president one day. Somebody told me last night that I should run for borough president. You know what? Who knows? You never know.
Listen, I think hands down everybody would vote for you.
Right?
Nobody has a bad word to say about you.
There's got to be somebody out there. Somebody out there.
We'll never listen to them.
I come on this show and I whack 3 guys out. Look, they're gone. No Dominic, no Tito, and Rhett. They're all gone.
Benny is doing something with his house right now, which he's on and off again, had because they're in the process of renovations. And Tito and Rhett, I have to say that it's never the same without them, but tonight with you here, it is going to be rocking. And they had, another commitment that they had to run to. So instead of canceling, it was like, oh my God, no, we feel confident because Joe was there.
Bottom line, I intimidated them. That's what it was. They were scared.
Tito
was scared.
You need to come here. You need to put your chops up on the table.
He's a tough guy when he's at the clubs, but one-on-one, he's not like that, You know
how shy Tito is, though? He does get, he is a shy person by nature.
Probably more shy than he is.
Stop it.
I am extremely, extremely shy.
I've never seen you shy.
Oh, yes. I mean, you may not see that, but the real me, I'm very, very shy. And I've always been that way my whole life.
Isn't that amazing?
Yep.
How many DJs do we know, though, who are so shy, but yet can put on a huge show for a crowd, and then when you get them out of the booth, they're like...
Well, the majority of the guys on the air, I would say maybe 70% of them, don't go out to the public. They don't go out. I'm one of the few on CBS that really go out. I'll stand in front of 3,000 people, 4,000 people. It doesn't bother me at all. But some of the guys won't even go near that. They won't even touch it.
So let's start from the beginning. You are, you wear Brooklyn on your sleeve like me. It is, for me, it's all encompassing. People ask me my nationality, and I usually say I'm from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, right.
Yeah, because Brooklyn covers it all. It covers my nationality, everything. And nobody ever actually gets what I am, but my accent is so strong that they look at me and they're like, oh, okay, we get it. The personality, the looks, the everything, that's a Brooklyn thing.
And I'm like, to tweak the accent down a little bit.
And I can, and then when I do that, people look at me and they're like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, right.
When I used to work at News America, marketing at News Corp, my accent was different the moment I walked in, but when I went outside to go smoke on the sidewalk, my Brooklyn accent would come out, and people were like, where did that come from? I'm like, this is the real me.
Yeah.
This is,
When I first started working, my first radio gig, I was out in Minnesota, and the way they talk, they're very, very different. Not like maybe a higher, like Chicago style, because it's way up north, right near Canada. And the secretaries used to put a table around me and watch me talk. They thought I was from Jupiter, the way I was talking. I mean, and they got such a kick out of me. You know, you see these guys on TV talking like this.
Right.
And then when you're in front of you, like, you know, do me a favor, go inside, go get that for me, you know, and they look at you like you're from a different world.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you're from our world, and we are from your world.
That's right.
So what part did you grow up in?
Bensonhurst, right near Coney Island.
Very cool.
In the Bay Streets, Bay 50th. And
Know it well.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
What school did you go to?
PS 212 Elementary. Matter of fact, when I was in elementary school, I was in a play-in school, you know. And it was Bye Bye Birdie. I sang on the play. And my music teacher, I did everything in the show, singing, playing drums, stuff like that. And she told me, I didn't know this till about a year ago. My wife found a letter that she sent my parents when I was in elementary school, when I graduated.
Wow.
And she said that, I don't know what your son's going to do, if he's going to be a singer, playing in a band, or something, but he's definitely going to do something with music. And sure enough, she found out I was in broadcast school, and she reached out to me. This is a while from elementary school.
Wow.
I'm in broadcast school, and she connected with me. Says, I have somebody that has a radio station in Minnesota. Would you want to go? So I was 19. I packed my bags. I thought Minnesota was like, you know, Mary Tyler Moore running through the streets of balloons.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not going to be bad. It's going to be like New York.
That's all we ever saw, though. That's all anybody from here ever knew about.
I get off the plane, and I didn't realize, I never flew anywhere. I was a kid. I had to switch another plane. So now all I'm seeing is trees and snow, and more trees and more snow. And this was like the end of March. I get off the plane, and it was already like 28 degrees, and people are walking around with shorts on and T-shirts because they're used to 50 below zero.
Right.
I get off the plane, I'm freezing. I was living in a little boarding house, paying $5 a day, making $150 a week. I was on the air every night, and I learned my thing. I left there 6 months, came back, and then went to Jersey, worked in a couple of stations in Jersey for a while. Then I was with the original 92 KTU.
I remember.
Right, and that was a huge takeover of radio. I mean, we were like #1 in every denomination in the city, and it was a big thing.
So what were the years for 92?
92 started in 79, 1980s. That was for me, 79, 1980.
So some of the people who are watching on Facebook, who are from my age, will remember the Manhattan Beach thing.
That was a big deal.
Oh, God,
That
yes.
was my first outdoor appearance working with 92 KTU. I went there with this disco mobile, and we set up outside. And back then, on a Saturday afternoon, when you went to Manhattan Beach, everybody had those giant boom boxes.
Yes.
And if you remember, they would put them all in a circle.
Yes.
On the cement and create one of a huge radio, and it was all on that station, and it would be a party every weekend on that beach.
So if for some reason, because I'm from Brooklyn, but if for some reason my friend Margaret Ponte sees the show, so we went to Adelphi together, and we would go to Manhattan Beach. And we would drag everything, along with our rolls of Reynolds. You know, we had no idea what we were doing to ourselves.
Right.
You know, the baby oil with the iodine in it, and laying out on tinfoil on the beach, and then drag all the boom boxes.
Don't forget the high heels you wore.
We wore candies.
Yep, and the
Fiorucci
makeup,
bathing
full
suits.
face of makeup.
Had our hair done. Had full face of makeup.
Imagine these women went to the beach looking like this.
That's what we did.
That's
what we did.
Right?
But I distinctly remember, and I do have some pictures of Margaret and I dancing on the boardwalk of Manhattan Beach to your music.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, you went there. That's what you did, and JOE CAUSI was on, and that was our big entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so important to us.
It was a great time back then.
It was.
Between all the street feasts that we used to do.
I feel
18th
bad
Avenue.
for the kids now because although they have like all of this great technology and all the rest
Right.
of it, they'll never have what we had.
Right.
It's just never going to be.
Call up the DJ, say, do me a favor, can you play, Rosebud, Have a Cigar?
Yeah.
For
Yes.
Rosemarie,
Yes.
for Rosemarie on
Yeah.
Bay 32nd Street. All right, no problem. And I put it on and like, you were a king.
That's right.
You were a king to them, and they loved you for that.
And you know what? I distinctly remember the whole experience. I could smell. We always had that. Besides the baby oil thing that we would.
Soleil.
Yes, the smell of the the stuff we would put on, and we were so excited. I mean, you would get up at like 6:30 in the morning to just get ready.
That's right.
To go to
You
the
had
beach.
to get your spot.
Yes, and it was, forget it, you couldn't even move.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't even move. Manhattan Beach, that was the place to be. Really, it was truly.
And then you graduated and you went out to the Hamptons.
Yes.
I mean, it was so funny. People from Brooklyn and Queens and Long Island went out to the Hamptons, and people from Staten Island and Jersey went down to the shore.
So, and I'm not good down at the shore. I don't know that much about it.
Yeah.
So Steve, my husband, being a Staten Islander, he would turn around and say, let's go here, let's go there. I'm like, what is that? He's like, how do you not know this? Didn't you ever go in the summer? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
We always hit Long Island.
Yeah, we always went to Long
Everything
Island.
was the Hamptons, or
Right.
you went to Manhattan.
La Plage
Manhattan
and
or
Le Mans
or the Hamptons.
27 East, all those great clubs. I mean,
So tell me, how important was 86th Street to you?
well, I remember when we did Midnight Madness, and Rick Kashia, who was the DJ, I think before Tito at Pastels, when it was Penthouse.
I went there often.
Right. Penthouse was for Pastels. And Rick Kashia had a DJ equipment store on 86th Street and 20th Avenue. And we had the idea of making an outdoor disco under the L of 86th Street. And this is when everybody was started driving up and down there. And we put a 10-foot round disco ball under the train trestle, the L, on 20th and 86th. And there had to be 10,000 people show up that night. We closed 86th Street down from 18th to Bay Parkway. It was
Do you guys have
crazy.
any footage from this?
All I have from that is just the headlines of the Brooklyn Graphic.
Oh my God.
That's all I have. I wish there was some. There's got to be. I know Channel 4 did an expose about it. I can't find it anywhere, but it's got to be in the files somewhere.
If anybody out there
Yeah.
has anything related to
'Cause
that,
I'd love to see that.
contact us. We would
Yeah.
love to
I'd
see
love
it
to see
and
that.
share it.
But it was unbelievable. All the stores closed down. Everybody came out with their folding chairs, put them on the sidewalks. And that's how it was every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on 86th Street. Before you went out, you washed your car all day. You got your hair cut in the afternoon.
Yep.
You went down to 86th Street. You hung out there for a while. Then you went to your club.
I used to hit Caesar's Bay Bazaar before that.
Of course.
Because I would have my, it sounds crazy now, but I would have my beeper case, my nails.
With
and
your chain on the beeper case.
That's right.
Don't
And the
forget
bow on my car made every week for me. And so we would match and airbrush my nails to the beeper case to match the bow. And so everything had to match.
Yeah.
And my car was spanking. I always had really good cars.
See?
And I was driving at 14 because drinking age was 18.
And you washed your car too.
I never washed a car in my life. I would go outside with the bucket and the hose, and I would just do one of these.
And one of your friends would do it.
All the boys on the block, or from the neighborhood. Actually, not the boys from my block because that was, they were used to me. I wasn't anything special.
Yeah.
But the boys from the neighborhood knew. And I had one kid who used to come all the time and wash my car like clockwork. So I thought he liked me. He had nothing. He didn't care what my name was. He didn't care about anything. It was the fact that he was trying to befriend me because I had a 69 Thunderbird in the backyard. And he wanted to he worked on my Lincoln to get to the 69 Thunderbird. And when I eventually found out that was what the kid wanted from me, I was like, okay, listen, you don't have to wash my car because I got other boys who can wash my car. What do you want? And he's like, I just want to see the 69 Thunderbird. I'm such a car person. and nobody drove the car anymore. So I just told my mom, you know, I'm like, listen, we would like the parking spot in the back because we had a garage and a parking spot in Brooklyn, which is, you know, huge.
Yeah, it was big.
Yeah, yeah. And I said, we could use the parking spot, and this kid really likes cars. So why don't we just give him the car? You know, and we did. And the guy still has the car. And I'm still friends with him. But, you know, that's the whole thing. I never washed a car in my life. I would just go outside and all the boys washed the cars. And stupid us, we always thought the boys washed it because they liked us. It's really because we had nice cars. Yeah. And the boys wanted to get in and look at the cars and play with the cars and all the rest of that
Cars
stuff.
were a big part of that environment back then. I mean, you know, they weren't as expensive as they were today.
Right.
I mean, you can get a Chevy Monte Carlo in 1980 for like $8,000, which was, 1980 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But, you know, but people loved their cars back then.
And you had a distinguishing personality, like if you were part of the Caddies or if you were
the Lincolns.
I had a Lincoln Continental.
I had a Lincoln.
Yeah,
too,
so, you know, and then, you know, if you pulled up next to the guys with the Caddies, they were like, oh, what are you doing driving that? Whatever,
right,
you know?
right.
And then you had the muscle guys and stuff like that, you know.
I went from the Monte to the Lincoln to a sports car. Then what did I get? Then the minivan. Then the kids came.
Yep. And
no minivan. Never did a minivan.
I never did the minivan either. I went into the SUVs. Mm-hmm. So that, you know, that's kind of like the floating boat type of thing.
Now I'm back to the Caddy again. You know, so
good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
But so 86th Street, for anybody who is from Brooklyn or read about it or anything like that, it was so integral to our social life and to everything. And also now you still have that connection to 86th Street. You just did something really big.
Yeah, with Ross. Yeah,
I love Ross the Boss.
Yeah, Ross the Boss was
one
there.
of the nice. I love Ross. He is so super
very
sweet.
authentic kid. I like him.
And his son. Oh my God, I love that boy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a young man, but he's still a boy to me. He is so polite, old school, old world. Gets up when I get up.
Is that the kid with the hair like that?
It's his son. He looks just like him. Yeah. I mean, like, that's Ross back in the day, you know, from like the Funhouse days and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he is amazing, his son. And he is great on the boards. What a DJ.
It's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun that day. Everybody came out with their caddies. They were like...
You had the Caddy Club there.
There was the Verrazano Cadillac Club. There was the La Familia Cadillac Club from Long Island. So they were all there. And, I mean, me personally, if I had a car like that, I wouldn't put under the L. I mean, everything was coming down and tripping down, you know.
But you know what? I think part of it is the fact that they see the joy that they bring to everyone's face when they bring out a car from our youth, you know, because that's what that is. You look at the car and you remember everything about that moment in time when that car was.
There was a guy there, his name was Vito, and he had I think it was a 79 Coupe de Ville, white on white.
Oh, the triple whites. Oh,
right, and he had that dash, and he says, you got to do me a favor. You've got to sign my dashboard. I went, I'm not signing your dashboard. I mean, he with a permanent marker. He says, no, you got to do this. I'm not doing it. I says, I feel bad doing it, and it's not even my car. I want you to do it. So he made me sign the wood grain of his dashboard.
Wow.
I felt bad. I told him, I says, you're going to regret this. No, I'm not.
But you know, a triple white was a big thing back in the day.
Yeah.
So for him to own the triple white, you know, he is embracing that moment in time that was so important, and you were so important. So I guess it's just a good combination.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
It was an honor. It was a good thing. It was a lot of fun.
That takeover, 86th Street takeover, was just epic. Epic. I mean, people are talking about it now. Like, you know.
It's it's a lot different now as it was then.
Sure.
You know, but that's everywhere in the city.
Sure.
You know, New York goes through a change every 20-something years.
Yes.
And new people come in and old people go out and new people, and that's...
And the styles and everything
else.
else.
That's the way it is. That's
when we were young, New York City was Wild West.
Right.
It was, you know...
Yeah, you couldn't go to Times Square.
Oh, God.
In the 70s or...
You know, when Beam was in and things were really, really rough, and then when Beam left and Koch, it was still rough. And I remember my friends from Adelphi, I went to Adelphi Academy, and we would go to the city. First, we would go to Penthouse. And because we were friends with the with the owner's kids. So we would
Right.
go, you know,
Dennis
either with
and all that.
Albert Wardy
Al, yep.
or Mark Hanna, you know, either the Hannas or the Wardys.
Yeah.
And Diane Wardy went to high school with me too. So we would hit Penthouse, but we were young, so we couldn't really stay there late. And then we would go to Villa Borghese to go eat, because one of the friends in the group, Fabian, his dad was at Villa Borghese, and then we would go to either Shooting Gallery, Night Gallery, or we would go to
Romeo
Manhattan.
and Juliet.
But we couldn't turn around and tell anybody we were going to Manhattan. So I remember walking through Times Square with them, and I don't know, about 20 kids. We all piled in cars and we went to the city, and I'm walking through Times Square with them, and I got caught up in a crowd and separated. And I didn't know what a peep show was yet or anything like that. And I get pushed in. I'm a high school kid. I get pushed into this one open space, and it was a peep show. So one of the male guys in the group, one of our friends, Peppy, grabs me from the back. He's like, "Your parents will kill me if we lose you here." And by the time we got back to the car, I know that one of the 3 cars that we went with was vandalized, like lost their tires, lost whatever. Yeah. We were like, "Oh, we got to go back to Brooklyn."
Speaking of the peep shows, when I was in broadcast school out of college, because originally I was going to go into computers, and I knew I had to do something with music.
Right.
I wound up going to broadcast school in Manhattan, and right below the broadcast school was a peep show on 42nd between 7th and 8th.
Yeah,
That's where it was. And it was so funny. So many people that I was in school with, you know, became Sue Simmons and Johnny Allen, my good friend from KTU.
Wow.
He went to, a lot of people were in the school. And it was
some experience, boy.
Yeah.
But New York was the Wild West,
Yep.
you know, and then things changed a little bit, and it was a safer environment. But I don't honestly remember ever feeling fear being in the city, even when it was crazy back then. It just, you know, you were from New York. It was the people who were not from here who had to have that sense of fear.
Well, you got to be street savvy too.
Yeah.
You know, we're street savvy. We know.
I you know, walking from 2001 Odyssey, which is not Bay Ridge, even though they want to say that's Bay Ridge, but when you cross over 65th Street, that's not Bay Ridge.
Right.
And then walking home at 2 o'clock in the morning to 79th Street in Bay Ridge, you know, somebody would pull up, they would say something dirty to you, but they weren't trying to drag you in a car, you know, and stuff like that. We would walk home 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, I'd leave Ralphie D, you know, if I didn't want to wait for him to get off of work, and because Ralphie was my friend, and I'd walk home from 2001 with my girlfriends, and we would just talk about the whole night, like, you know, everything that we did, you know.
I remember picking up my wife one night, which was my girlfriend then, and I says, "Oh, you know what, I could go for a hot dog at Nathan's." It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And she's a native Staten Islander, you know? And there we are in Coney Island. I says, "Come on, let's go to hot dog." She goes, "I'm not getting out of this car. We're in Coney Island." I says, but you know, from when you're from there, there's no...
Didn't mean anything to us.
Didn't mean anything at all. I mean, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, that's how it was.
Listen, you know what? Sometimes it would just cost us extra money because we would turn around and like buy somebody something. You know,
exactly right.
It's like give the guy French fries, give him a hot dog, give him a soda, whatever, you know. And it was all fun. And they would, you know, turn around and say things, or "I'll watch your car, buy me a hot dog." It's okay, good, no tickets.
Right.
You know, it's like all good.
Back then, a hot dog was what, a quarter?
You know what? I don't even remember.
I remember it as like 75 cents.
Yeah,
maybe 50
it was cheap.
cents.
It was cheap.
Now, forget it. I remember going there with my father when I was a kid, and for $20, getting 2 shopping bags of, you know, hamburgers, hot dogs, fries, everything. Now, $20, you get, I don't know, 3 things.
If
that much, right?
But you know, it's still a great institution. I still love it. I mean, there are so many like great places, thank God, that are still around.
I'll be there this Sunday. We're doing a show there this Sunday. Yeah.
Where?
At the amphitheater, Coney Island Amphitheater. It's Doo Up on the Boardwalk. All those groups from the 50s and 60s. Anybody doing those going to be there. He's going to be singing. The Brooklyn Bridge is going to be there. The Crystals.
You know how much I love Vinny.
Oh, he's the best.
Vinny is like my son.
Yeah.
And you know what we should tell everybody is that Vinny always had a love for the industry, but you, being the consummate professional and being that Brooklyn guy who is just kind to your core, saw that in Vinny, and you cultivated it, and you gave him that experience to fall in love with it, to blossom to who he is now. Really,
he's a funny guy. He's a funny guy.
But you know that you did that for Vinny. You know what I mean? You've always supported him in everything.
Yeah.
You really gave Vinny that love for this industry, and I don't think he will ever make you question why you loved him and supported him. He will always make you proud.
But I never had his mother's cooking, and I heard she cooks unbelievable.
I call Vinnie's Moms, whether you're a gravy or a sauce person, I call it perfume. And when you walk into Vinnie's house and his mother is not making it, I leave Post-it notes inside the pot with a frowny face and little tears, you know. And I flood her house with those Post-it notes because she's amazing.
She's funny.
She is, Angela is.
She's funny. And she's no joke.
No joke. No, she's the real deal.
She's the one you want to walk down the street with at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and isn't Nancy.
She's the real deal.
Those two, real deal.
Nancy's my favorite. She's the funniest.
But Vinnie's mother, she bakes from scratch.
Yeah,
like,
I do that too.
Do you really?
I make my own raviolis.
You're like my husband. The two of you make everything from scratch.
Well, he's a food guy.
Yeah.
He's a food guy.
I can't cook.
I get flour, egg, water. I still make my own raviolis. Yeah, I made zucchini flowers yesterday.
Don't say that. He will.
Who makes zucchini flowers?
Now,
Nobody.
if you do this on a steady basis, my husband's going to smell it and find his way to your house and knock on your door and Joe, go on. When he brought me home, his mom asked me like if I knew how to cook certain things. I was like, you didn't tell her?
Yeah.
I don't cook.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how to cook. Like, I don't cook at all. Yes.
Reservations.
Yes.
That's what
but
I
that's okay because he loves it. So it's all good. You know, it's the ebb and flow.
Yeah, but he knows his food.
Yeah. And thank God because, you know, somebody's got to feed me. So, Joe, looking back about your whole beautiful, wonderful life, what is that moment in time when you said, you know what? Wow, this was the right choice for me. I love this.
There was so many things. I mean, you know, performing like during lunchtime at the World Trade Center, the original Trade Center.
Yes.
Going out there at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and there's 1,000 people come out and see you for the lunch hour. And I bring in a group, you know, people that no one, I brought Shannon. Her first time ever in front of an audience. And it was at Pier 11. It was our lunchtime shows we used to do. And these were free shows. I didn't get paid extra. We just go out and do it. And I always went out and did it. I always wanted to get out there.
Well, you're always strong with community engagement.
Right. I like helping out. Like somebody will call me up. Like yesterday, American Cancer called me. They're having a fundraiser in Midland Beach in October. You want to do it? I'm there. There was a little kid on Staten Island. I think he's doing better now. He was doing bad a couple of months ago, and they had a fundraiser for him at the El Carib. I went there. I hosted it for them.
That's beautiful.
Things like that. You know, you got to give back. You know, and so Shannon, I bring Shannon on stage.
Crazy talented Shannon.
And this was before MP3s and before cassettes. Her backtrack was on a reel-to-reel.
Oof.
They go hit it. She walks out on stage. Everything got ripped in the machine. No track. And she went out and did the whole show a cappella.
Wow.
And blew everybody away. I says, and everybody had the time of their lives. And we just gave her a little background track and things like that you remember forever.
Wow.
Things like that.
Yes.
I did a show one time. It was like the first video show in New York called New York Hot Tracks with Carlos Diaz, who's not with us any longer. And I was with Laura Branigan, who also is not with us any longer. Yeah. And when I was on 92 KTU, Carlos came in and he says, you got to listen to this song. You're going to love this. And he gives it to me on an acetate, which was a one-sided record, which I still have home.
Wow.
No label, handwritten, and it was Laura Branigan, Gloria.
Oh my God, what an anthem.
And I was the first person to play this in New York. And I put it on the air, and I knew as soon as I played it, I said, this is going. And you can't do that today. It's different today.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was like it was like the #1 song of the summer. It was huge. And I did a show with her at Studio 54.
Oh my gosh.
And she came out and thanked me on camera for being the first to play it. Things like that you remember.
That's amazing.
You know,
that's amazing.
Things like that you remember.
What's your favorite club from back in the day?
Oh, I've worked in so many clubs.
Now, your favorite working and your favorite socializing in. Let's get.
I never went to clubs to socialize.
Really?
Never. I never did that. I wasn't a club guy.
Oh my God! I used to love to go to Xenons. That was
Xenons.
That was really one of my favorite.
I worked in Xenons on New Year's Eve.
Wow!
I did a New Year's Eve, and I
love that place. The vibe was amazing.
I did a New Year's Eve there at Xenons, and after it struck 12 o'clock, and I was in the booth with the DJ, and everybody was out there hugging and kissing, and I'm there by myself. I made a vow never to work on New Year's Eve again, and I never did.
Oh my God.
I says, I'm going to be with my family from now on New Year's Eve.
I think, the joke back in the day for me when, young and really involved in the industry and stuff like that, because I started bartending at 16, that I always had so many films.
Which was illegal.
Yes.
But we won't go there.
No. No. But listen, it is what it is because it was Brooklyn,
right.
Right. But I had so many, I always dated guys that everybody else went, wow, they're a great guy. But I had all these failed relationships, and it was because I was the girl who said, yes, I'll work New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And I'll work all of these other things because I liked it. And, if you're not in the industry, it's too taxing on a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. People go, I don't want to be alone all the time. I want to go on vacation. I want to go to a wedding. I don't want to be alone on New Year's Eve.
Do you know how many Easter Sundays I worked and New Year's Eve I worked on the air? I'll never forget, I worked at, I was in Times Square, and the station was in Times Square, and I come out after midnight, quarter after midnight. I was on the air till 12. Walking in Times Square, going home to get my car.
Yeah.
You know what that's like?
And I saw it as a totally different thing. I distinctly remember one of my favorite memories was working New Year's Eve at the Limelight this one particular year. And it was insane. It was just insane.
I worked there, yeah.
Yeah, it was just, totally insane. And as the ball was dropping and everybody was freaking out, I was on the bar hosing everybody down with the soda gun, with the club soda. And it was showers and showers of soda, and people were roaring. And I said, it's never going to get better than this.
Yeah.
This is the best ever.
That's like DJs in Belmar now. That's
right.
That's how it is at DJs.
I'm like, this is the best it's ever going to be. I'm taking in this moment. I think, I was up there, it seemed like years, but it was probably 3 minutes, and just hosing down people and just watching the sheer joy of everybody getting, rained upon with all of that, and then the confetti and all the rest of that, and the jumping and the screaming. It was great.
That was like that working in Le Mans in the Hamptons. It was like a big, huge club.
Yeah.
La Plage in the Hamptons.
I loved La Plage.
Sunday afternoons.
The owner, Stephen, was such a nice guy.
Stephen Picone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good.
He was like one of the nicest owners. Always.
So many great clubs. Uncle Sam's, 231's. What was the one on Fort Hamilton Parkway? Hamilton Quarters.
Oh, wow.
You paid $15 to get in and you drank all night. Imagine?
Yeah.
$15 you drank all night.
Yeah.
Great. I met my wife in a club. I met my wife in Whispers on Staten Island.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Were you working or were you socializing?
Well, I met her on the phone, and I made the date there to meet her.
So that one social experiment of going out instead of working turned out well for you.
Yeah. But there was a lot of great times.
And I would imagine, listen, I've met your wife. She is a piece of bread. She's the salt of the earth. She is really a nice person. But I have to say, probably it was strange being on a date with you because everybody knew who, you were just so well known. That it must have been like, who is this, type of thing. Yeah. So good for her, because some people would have been like, I don't know, I can't handle this.
It was a crazy time, but we got through it.
She's amazing. I remember sitting with her at the St. George Theater, and we were watching something, and she was cheering right along with me, and she's just like really I don't think you could have found anybody better.
Yeah, she's good.
She's a really decent human being.
She's a good egg. She's a good egg.
She is.
Well, now she's got my grandkids, so I don't exist anymore. I don't exist anymore.
Well, you just keep making those zucchini flowers.
Yeah, I know.
So if we had to turn around and you couldn't do anything in New York anymore, where would you go?
My family's here. I wouldn't go anywhere.
Me
I'd
too.
stay
I
here.
asked that question. Everyone's like, I'd go to Florida. I'm like,
Yeah. Oh, I try that with my wife. Says, we should take a Florida. And my son lives like, 3 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
She goes, it ain't gonna happen.
I could do the snowbird thing.
Yeah, probably.
And
I'll do
although
that.
most of our friends, have places and they go back and forth, I don't think I could ever do that relocation thing like on a permanent basis.
I hear so many people saying they moved to Florida. Says, "Oh, I can't wait to come back." Some people just can't do it. They can't make the switch.
I think it's good when you have the ability to come back and forth.
Right.
But then when I ask this question of other people, they're like, no, gun ho. Like, oh, I could go move,
Right.
whatever, Arizona. I'm like,
I want to get up on a Sunday morning. I want to go to this place for my bread. I want to go to this place for my raviolis. I want to go to this place for my meat.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Publix or Whole Foods or something like that.
Yeah. And you have
it's
so
different.
many connections here and stuff like that. I mean, just walking in this building, means something to you too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I came in here, I used to do the news here. He used to invite me to be like a guest anchor back in the day. It was fun. It was good times.
And, you have so many friends who are part of here. Vito Picone, I mean, it's just...
Johnny P has his show here.
Yeah. I mean, you're entrenched here. I mean, in fact, you should visit more often, even though I do know that your schedule is jam-packed. But you should visit more often.
Yeah, we have a lot of things happening. Like I said, this Sunday I just did the Mount Carmel feast in Williamsburg this past weekend.
The feast used to be so much fun. We miss having feasts.
I love going
now
to
that this is,
I grew up in the feast.
Yes.
My father had games in the feast and stands, so I know everyone that's in the feast because I've done San Gennaro. I've done the San Gennaro feast every year since 1980.
I've been a rugrat at the San Gennaro feast my whole entire life. In fact, on my description on my social media, it says feast monster. I don't think people understand what that means, but it means that I live for the feast. Like,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Madison, my daughter, her birthday always falls around the feast, and I don't know, we were talking about a party. I'm like, no party. Just bringing all your friends to the feast.
You know what I love about the feast?
Just come to the feast.
When you walk out through the feast, and you can see the people from Pennsylvania and Jersey walking through the feast, and they're those barkers at the restaurant saying, "Come in, we got great veal pomp." They never say that to us.
Never.
Because they know they know the look, and they know this guy. They're not gonna. But I love going there because I'll go see Baby John.
Oh my God, salt of the earth, love him.
Yeah, he's got the most incredible cannolis in the world.
Oh my God.
In the world. His coffee, it's the best.
There's, but Baby John is so old school and such a good soul.
Yeah, I love it.
So spending time over, at his place, just for me, shoveling cannolis down my face, where he makes fun of me. He's like, you're going to drop dead of diabetes soon, because you had 40 cannolis. Right. And he's like, I'm going to have to call your husband. I can't help it. I just have to eat until I'm about to,
Me too. I have my ritual. I go to Vincent's first. I get my shrimp bowls with extra hot sauce.
Ooh.
And I have that. Then we go to Baby John. Then I go for my cigars. I go see Ernie.
You got to go to Ferraris. You have to.
I go to Ferraris. I go see Ernie in the store, with all the little Italian stuff. I love going in there because I always go in there and pick up something.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to support the people that have been there forever.
Everybody needs to go and support Little Italy because right now they're facing such a sad experience after COVID. They have struggled so hard, and it is one of the true jewels of Manhattan.
Right.
Manhattan would not be the same without Little Italy.
Yeah.
And without those people who have really stuck their necks out to hold on to businesses and struggle through the good times and the bad, including Ferraris. Ferraris, the Lepori family, Ernest Lepori and his sisters, Anna Marie and Adeline.
Danico's, all those places.
Yeah, and Baby John, just keeping that spirit alive.
Phil Cortiel. People who are watching this on the internet, and if you're coming in, I know you're used to eating at Olive Garden and that kind of stuff. You've got to come and try the real stuff.
That's right. I used to work in Little Italy.
Oh, yeah.
I worked on Grant and Center Market at a place called The Stakeout, and tourists would come in and they would, and this was a long, long time ago, and they would turn around and say, your Italian food, I can't get anything that tastes like what I have from at home. And I'm like, because that was made in a diner. This is not, Italian food. This is Italian food.
This isn't ricotta.
Right.
You know?
This is a totally different experience. And I do remember tourists that I became friendly with who would come back every year. And I would take them all around, and we would go visit. So you had to have apps in one place, entree in another, dessert in the other, coffee in the other.
Right.
You know, and you would wind up at Terramina's, at one part of this. And they would go home saying, we have to move here because the food is so phenomenal. Every place was as good as the next, and every owner took a sense of pride, and every kid that grew up whose parent owned it had a double sense of pride because they grew up in it and their parents struggled to create it, so they had to keep it going. You know,
great. It was a great place to grow up, and you could tell the people that have lived there their whole life.
Yes,
you could tell it's something special. Like Sunday, like I said, I was in Williamsburg and Greenpoint at Lady of Mount Carmel, and that was asked by Monsignor Jamie. I don't know if you know Monsignor Jamie and Casada, Monsignor Casado.
He is. No offense to any other Monsignor. Every Monsignor, is a one. They're wonderful people, but he is like the Monsignor.
Right. He's Brooklyn.
Yes.
He's Brooklyn.
Yes.
And they asked me, would you want to lift the Giglio, which is a big honor.
It really is.
And I says, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. So they had my shirt, they had my kerchief in. And when I got there and that band started playing,
did you cry?
March of Reality.
I think I would cry.
I started tearing up. I mean, I had goosebumps up and down my body because I grew up in this. I grew up in the feast my whole life. And I says, it doesn't get better than this.
Right?
This is like the greatest thing in the world. And when I got there and did the first lift, it was mind-blowing. It was really mind-blowing. It was probably one of the greatest things I've done.
And I can totally understand it.
Yeah,
I can totally understand.
I mean, it was hot. It was 90 degrees. We were sweating. The band was playing. Lucy's is making the sausage and peppers.
You're killing me.
They're making the Zeppelis on this side. It was unbelievable. And that's going on till next Sunday. I may go back and do it again. That's
going on till next Sunday?
Next Sunday, yeah.
I have to go there.
And there's a Mount Carmel feast on Staten Island.
Yes.
There's one in Rosebank. And I may be going there Saturday night. Check that one out. You got to go.
That's still going on?
Yeah.
Like now?
Yeah.
Like, is Lucy there too?
She's in Williamsburg.
She's not in Staten Island?
No, they had their own thing. That's a very close knit over there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gabish?
Yeah. I get it.
All right.
But there's nothing like going home with like 3 or 4 Lucy sandwiches in the bag.
I know.
And then the next day waking up and like,
my
God.
Yep.
Wow.
We were talking for a while, me and Lucy, and she was saying, it's a hard business, it's a hard life.
She's a hard worker.
Yeah, it's not easy. People go there and, they want to have conversations with her, and it's, you're moving when you're behind that stand.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing. It's 90 degrees outside, and you're standing in front of a grill with 8 rolls of sausage and peppers in front of you.
I could smell it right now.
Yeah,
I'm literally
it's
dying. Oh my God, I'm dying. So what other feasts do we have coming up?
We got San Gennaro. We have that's coming up in September. I'll be there on the 24th. Of San Gennaro. I'll be there.
It would never be the same without you.
Can't wait. I love it. I love it. I literally look forward to it each and every year.
I do too. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah, it's the greatest thing in the world.
It's funny because Steve will come with me to the feast one out of, because I go to the feast multiple nights. And I have to remember that night I have to, be patient because he's not going to run the way I do. And I'm still honestly like an 8-year-old kid when you let me loose on
too.
Grand Street.
I am the same
and
way.
I'm booking in and out of the places.
I don't walk on the street. You walk on the sidewalk.
Right.
Yeah, you walk on the sidewalk.
But
you walk in the water puddles. With the flour on the floor and the grease. That's the way they are. And you don't wear good shoes at the feast.
No,
remember.
In fact, you actually bring your other shoes to drive home because you throw them out.
Right, exactly.
You throw them out when you get to your car. You're not going to put that crap on the car. Oh, my God.
Right, right.
Well, yeah, we used to go to Fabco and buy throwaway sneakers.
Fabco.
It's not around anymore, but everybody had throwaway sneakers, and we would all park and then walk and get back to the car and open up the trunk, and everybody take out their own shoes and throw them out.
Some characters on Mulberry Street had Cha-Cha.
Oh, how much we love John.
I worked with him every week. I mean, he was the best. you know, and Tony Danza.
Absolutely.
And, you know, Steve Sciarippo, all those guys
Yes,
down there.
yes.
You know, it was great. Carmine from El Cortil.
I'll tell you a funny story. So I start working over at the Stakeout, and, you know, because I had been there from a child, everybody came over and said hello. So 2 guys from Chinatown come over, and they were taking bets in the window. And they couldn't believe that I got the job. And they didn't think that, you know, I would get this job or whatever, you know, I don't. So one guy loses, and he's spitting, and he's throwing the money down, and he's making the payoff on the bet, and they lose the whole bet and whatever. So I go outside, I'm like, stop spitting on the ground. Like, what are you doing? You know, and the guy turns around and goes, hey, we didn't think you'd get the job. We thought at such and such would get the job. I go later on to go visit John. So I'm down over at Cha-Cha's after I get out of work. I'm sitting there, and the 2 guys are still arguing over me getting the job.
Yeah.
I went over, I said, how much did you lose? I'll pay for it. Like, just take the money. Stop arguing.
Cha-Cha.
Yeah. And John was like, oh, please, if they're not arguing over you, they're going to argue over something else, you know?
He knew everybody.
That's why he was the mayor.
He knew everyone. I'll never forget when he passed away. They had his wake in the church on Mulberry Street.
And share with where he was buried, because that's a distinction that nobody can get.
Right.
He's in the catacombs.
Yeah.
Nobody gets to be buried in the catacombs of...
Most Precious Blood, right? Most Precious Blood?
It's downstairs, yeah. It is like, that's a tourist destination that people walk in, you know. You don't ever get to, nobody, but his level of support and love and admiration and blood, sweat, and tears for Little Italy, you know, just put him in that position where
he was a funny guy too.
He was kind and funny,
and he said it straight from the hip.
Yeah. Oh, God,
mean,
yes.
If
he
didn't like you, you were going to know it. I mean, I've seen him say things like, "Wow."
When I went there with Steve, Steve and John were friends, and I was friends with John, but we were not all friends, right? So somehow, I don't know, we walk in there, and Cha-Cha turns around and he goes, you got her? You got her? And my husband's like, yeah, that's the girl I've been telling you about. He goes, oh my God. And he goes, I don't know if I should hug you and congratulate you, or if I should show you the back exit and run. And my husband's like, what? And he goes, that girl works 24/7. She's a hard worker. She takes no shit. Like, you're in trouble. You better, like, you know, toe the line.
He was a piece of work. I mean, we used to do
kind. And I love
Wise
Karen,
Guy
his
show.
wife.
Yeah, Karen's good.
Absolutely.
Great singer, too.
Absolutely.
Karen's a good singer.
Now, that Wise Guy show was just amazing. I mean,
that was the brainchild of little Van Zandt, Steve Van Zandt from Bruce Springsteen's band. Right. And it was him being on The Sopranos, playing Silvio Dante. He had the idea of doing this Wise Guy show. And it was Vinny Pastore was the host.
Love him.
I was the co-host.
Love him.
Cha-Cha.
Love him.
Vinny Vella. Joe Regano.
That's right. That's right.
Uncle Floyd.
Yes.
And Uncle Floyd would be on the piano. Yes. We'd be talking. And it was like The View, but with street guys.
How much more fun could that get?
That was the idea of the Wise Guy show. It was The View with Italian street guys. And we said whatever we wanted to say. There was nothing holding us back because we were on Sirius. Right. And we said things, not me personally, because I was the co-host. Yeah. And for being on the radio, I couldn't do that. Yeah. You know, they were not like that. So they would say Cha-Cha had no bars.
No filter.
No filter. Him and Vinny Vella. I mean, there would be fights. There would be fist fights in the studio. I mean, I've seen one time. Here's a great Cha-Cha story. We had an intern working in the studio, and we'd have a meeting before the show at like 4:00 in the afternoon, and there'd be all pizzas delivered. No, there would be sandwiches at the meeting, and then when we'd be on the air 2 hours later, then we'd have pizzas delivered to the studio. We ate twice because
it was fun,
right?
And because
one of the interns decided to take one of the pies and bring it in the studio and eat it with another intern. Oh. And Cha-Cha says, where's the other pizza? I says, I don't know. We look and there's the intern eating the pizza. We're on the air. He calls him into the studio. Now, we were in a glass room overlooking like 36 floors up. He had the intern take his pants down in his underwear and face the window for an hour.
Oh, you could never do that now.
Could never ever do that now.
Oh my God.
But that's like the things that went on there.
Oh my God.
I mean, crazy things. And we had every guest. We had 1 week, Sylvester Stallone would be there.
Right.
You never knew who would walk in. Paulie Walnuts, Tony Sirico, who just passed away.
I know, I'm so sad
He would be
about
a
that.
guest host there a couple of times. Steve Sharippa, Tony Darrow, all those guys. It was an unbelievable show.
How long did the show run?
It ran, I think 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5
Wow.
years. Yeah.
That's long.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great time. It was so funny. And I would literally be there all day because I would get there at 8 in the morning because I was on 4 channels back then,
right,
besides my regular radio. So I would do the Sinatra show, the 70s show, Studio 54 show, then I'd do the Wise Guys show. So I was there all day, all day long. It was crazy.
You had to
times.
love it to do that.
Loved it.
Because that's a long commitment.
I loved it. Yeah, it was a great time. And I met so many people. I mean, Regis Philbin would come in. So many. Every day somebody new. Everybody.
And also the funny thing is, though, being from Brooklyn, you know, a lot of the people that they would talk about and stuff like that, they are originally from Brooklyn.
Yeah,
Rhea
Perlman would come in with Danny DeVito. Rhea Perlman went to my high school. She was there. Steven Sharippa, he went to my high school, Lafayette. A lot of people, sports figures we've had. We had the amazing Kreskin one week.
Oh, he's
crazy.
So sweet. I love him.
You never knew who was coming in the studio next. We had a great booker. You know, they would book a lot of great guests, and it was a fun time. It was a good time.
You know, one thing about I'm always going to remember with Danny DeVito is how he took it so hard when Cha-Cha died.
Yeah.
And at the wake.
But he was his best man, right?
Yeah. That's what I was told. So when Tony Danza was up there giving the eulogy, and I just kept looking to my left, and he was just so torn apart. He was just so visibly shaken and upset and sad that this was real. This was a real, like, that was the love of a friend. It didn't matter who the person was, television, success, no success. This was just a true love of one friend to another. And everything that Tony was saying up there was reaching him more and more and more. And he was just truly so crushed over the experience. I was crying because, you know, I love John and the friendship and everything, but I was crying more because of what I was seeing go on in the room. You know, next to me, I think over here was Steve, and then Joey Reynolds was in front of me, and Judith Regan was over here. And we were all crying. We were just like, everybody was distraught over it.
You were with these people for so many years.
Yes.
So many different. Everybody went. When there was a new show, you know, everybody went, or a new outing, everybody went. So you're always together, and you know, something like that. And he died very fast too. You know, such a shame.
It really was. And I don't think they'll ever see anybody else in Little Italy like him.
No.
And that is a shame too, that no one else will ever be that huge, strong figure to carry on that whole thing.
And he loved the feast.
He did.
Loved the feast.
He turned around, and that's where I got the name Feast Monster.
Yeah.
Because he said, I love the feast, but you're a monster here. Because you're a feast monster. And honestly, I would eat. Bang, bang, jump, eat. He's like, you eat like you're a football player.
Yeah.
I'm like,
we call it. You're the feast. I call it feast fever. That's what I call it, feast fever.
Yeah, he named me the Feast Monster. Yeah.
I'll be in my car and I'll hear a song by Jimmy Rosselli, and boom, I'm right in the street, right in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's things like that. Or last week I was in my yard. I have a flat top grill. It says I'm in the mood to make sausage and peppers. You know, so I started making the onions and the peppers, and I had the music on in the background. I says, I was in a different planet. I said, don't bother me, leave me alone. I'm cooking, leave me alone.
And you were smelling the feast.
I was in my zone. I was in my zone.
You were smelling the feast too there with you.
Yeah.
So when you turn on the radio, I'm interested to know, what would be your go-to song?
My go-to song? My go-to song?
That's a tough thing to ask somebody like you, who is just surrounded by music all the time. What's your go-to song?
My favorite, I have 3 of my favorite songs. Barry White, You're the First, My Last, My Everything.
Love that.
I like that song by him, and I love to sing the songs I sing by Barry White.
Wow.
It wasn't played a lot, but it's a great song. And there's a lot of meaning to the song. If you listen to it, it's a lot of meaning. Bonnie Pointer, Heaven Must Have Sent You.
Poor Bonnie, I miss her.
My all-time favorite, Terry DeSario. Ain't Nothing. Yeah, it's my favorite song. My favorite song.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it.
Wow.
I mean, I like all the staples, the Born to Be Alive.
Right.
But when you hear it played 1,000 times, I Will Survive. I mean, it's,
For me, my 8-track, I still have them, and I still have an 8-track player, which is, a crazy thing. It's in the garage, but it's all wrapped in bubble tape and stuff like that. But I have certain things also, Barry White, I think I had to, replace those 8-tracks a million times because I would burn them out. And that was something you put the moonroof back.
I always wanted, I never met him. I would have never met him.
I would think somebody like you would have.
No, never met him. Like he was like before, he was like in the early 70s and never had a chance to meet him. One of the coolest person I met Donna Summer. That was really amazing, with her husband Bruce, really good people. But bringing Michael Jackson out on stage at Madison Square Garden was pretty cool. Pulls up on stage. We were in front of the curtain. We had a Christmas show at the Garden, and he pulled up behind the curtain in a Suburban. Got out of the car, opened up the curtain, came out, did a little thing for the people, came back inside the curtain, got back in the car, and drove away.
Was he nice?
Yeah, I mean, very timid, but he had a connection with our program director, that's why he came and did that for us, because he would never do that for anybody.
Right.
He was so unattainable, but he did that for us. It was a big deal.
That's huge.
That was a big deal. Yeah.
I'm friends with a guy who was his chef.
Really?
Yeah. We had
I heard
him on
you
the
talk
show.
about that on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, Johnny Chow.
Right.
And
What did he eat anyway?
Cheese and
That's
soft food.
That's it.
Soft food and cheese. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I could spend my whole diet on cheese, but he said that was a big thing that he had to figure out how to break him out of the cheese.
What's your favorite restaurant?
Oh my God! Now or then?
Look at this! I'm interviewing her. How crazy
now
is
or
this?
then?
Huh? Back. Let's do back then and back now. And it could be the same place too.
Well, I think my most comfortable restaurant, which is, I guess, my favorite restaurant, food-wise, and just the comfort of the level of the love that I feel in the room, would be Ponte Vecchio in Bay Ridge.
Great. Yeah.
So Reno and I went to Adelphi together.
Great. I was there about 2 months ago.
And Enzo, his partner, was my first customer the night I got thrown behind the bar to learn how to bartend, because the place I was in, there were many bartenders, but one guy broke his arm in a fight. And so they threw me behind the bar. And they said, go there, you know how to count, you know, whatever, you know how to make change. So I don't drink. I don't even know how to, whatever. And they said, don't worry about it. And Enzo, not knowing me, stood at the end of the bar and turned around and told me what ingredients. So I went to a bottle, and I went to the next bottle. He goes, I get to the bottle. He goes, yeah. And that's how I started learning how to drink and bartend and everything else. So he started my career for me. So I think Ponte Vecchio is really my favorite.
I love it too.
My favorite nightclub in Brooklyn would have been definitely back in the day, Night Gallery, and then of course Pastels.
Yeah.
And then my
No Revelations?
I ever worked in? No, Revelations was cool, but I think
You went there first.
Yeah, but you know what? Night Gallery had the thing because the DJ JOE CAUSI, whatever.
Yeah.
We were dumb back then and fun and whatever, and he was wild. Right. And then my favorite place I ever worked in was the Limelight in Manhattan, and in Brooklyn would be Razzles, where I worked with Ralphie D.
Razzles.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. My favorite places, but unfortunately, we're coming to an end. This is too short.
It was so fast.
You got to come back.
I'll come back when everybody's back.
No, we're going to throw them out. We don't know. We just need ourselves over here. Yes. I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.